Today on Good Friday, the day traditionally known as the day that Jesus was crucified, I'm thinking about someone that seems to interrupt the whole narrative, the whole story of Jesus' trial and crucifixion. Someone that's mentioned so briefly that if we're not careful, we can read right over him and not think twice about it. Between our thoughts about Jesus, the Sanhedrin, Judas, Pontius Pilate, everything that's going on, it's very easy for us to miss this vital piece of the crucifixion puzzle.
So even before Jesus is put on the cross, we get a glimpse into why he went through all of this. There was a custom, according to the Gospels, during Passover, where a prisoner in Jerusalem would be released. So Pilate thought he had it out. Of course, if he chose the worst of the worst, the most vile, disgusting creature, so to speak, a murderer, a thief, the leader of an insurrection, surely they weren't going to choose Barabbas.
But the high priest and the rest of the Jews were chanting, "Crucify him, crucify him, crucify him." And they weren't amused by Pilate's attempts. They wanted Jesus dead. Jesus was accused of exactly what Barabbas actually did.
Crucifixion was reserved for criminals whose crimes were against the Roman Empire. The Pharisees said that Jesus was the one leading the insurrection against the Roman Empire.
Pilate finally gives in and hands Jesus over to the Roman soldiers, men expert in torture, with knowledge of exactly how to physically punish the human body until it's only breaths from death. They put a crown of thorns on his head, put a purple robe on him to mock the claim of his royalty, and they begin beating him in the head and spitting on him.
He was even scourged, beaten with whips, and had sharp pieces of rock, metal, or bone attached. The Jewish authorities were still not content with this punishment and continued their demands. Crucify him, crucify him, crucify him.
It even got to the point where they began politicizing this event, claiming that if Pilate did not heed their demands, he was no friend of Caesar. Pilate asks one more time, "Shall I crucify your king?" And the chief priest answers, "We have no king but Caesar." His people, the ones he created, the ones that he kept through droughts and famines, the ones he brought out of Egypt, the ones he led with pillars of fire and pillars of smoke, the ones that he allowed into the promised land, the ones that he spoke to through prophets, the ones that he came to the earth to save.
They had once again turned their backs on him. Jesus is forced to carry his cross up a hill, where he is then nailed to it and raised up and dies.
While Barabbas walks away scot-free, with no consequences for what he did. Jesus paid the price for Barabbas' crimes, even though he did absolutely nothing wrong.
He was the spotless lamb, the perfect sacrifice. So today, when you think of Jesus and remember his death, remember that he paid the price for our sins. Also think of Barabbas, because Barabbas is you. Barabbas is me. Barabbas is all of us. We're not worthy of what he did for us. We weren't worthy for him to go and give his life on the cross for us, but he chose us. He chooses us every single day. Today, when you think on that, think of what he did for you. We know that Easter Sunday is coming and it looks a lot different than it normally does. But there's one thing that is the same, and that is Jesus.